We are live. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and this is the Hangout. It's my weekly live stream. We do this most Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're here watching this on the replay, thank you. Hopefully, you can catch us live next time, maybe next Thursday at 7, or, keep watching replays, whatever tickles your fancy. If you are here live, let me know. Give me a what's up in the chat. Yo, my brother Skip and Tosh is here. What is up, my man Skip? Oh gosh, did I run out of water? It's that time of the day already. But yeah, so this is the Hangout. This is the live stream where we talk about comics, we talk about comic news, comic reviews, comic movies, whatever whatever tickles your fancy. Or in this case, tickles my throat. So huge thanks to you guys who are watching. If you were not aware, I am getting over a cold, so tonight's stream will be a little bit shorter. I just watched the Superman movie for the first time, or I should say, I finished watching the Superman movie for the first time, the one from 1978, and that was a thing, and we'll talk about that. We're gonna talk about some news and all that. My man Kevin's here. What's up, Kevin? Hope you're doing well. And what's up, Ryder? Hope you're doing well. Also, greetings, my friend. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna start today off. I mean, it's gonna be a real low key stream. Like I said, I'm getting over a cold. Today's the best I felt pretty much all week. I started the week like with no voice and like it was crazy. I did the pull list video sick, and you could tell, you could hear it. It was terrible. And yeah, I was out of commission yet most of the day yesterday. Today I'm feeling, like I said, I'm about 80%. I think really what I need is a good night's sleep at this point. But hey, Rot Pot's here. What's up, sir? I am not familiar with your screen name, so I'm thinking it's your first time here, at least my first time shouting you out. So welcome to the Hangout. I'm glad to see you here. So we're gonna start things pretty low key with some things that I found in the news today. So let's talk about a few articles that I found that I thought were pretty interesting, and we'll start things off. Um, how about this? We'll start off with a Batman announcement. Sounds good to me. So there's going to be a DC Comics event this fall. It's a Batman crossover called the Gotham War. So Batman and Catwoman fighting each other, apparently. It's written by Chip Zdarsky and Tini Howard, who are the writers of Batman and Catwoman, respectively. Selena Kyle is going to become the newest crime boss in Gotham, and Batman's got to stop her. A twisted love story, in a way, as Howard promises on the next page. Or on the page, we've got one of comics' greatest love stories, the world's greatest detective and the world's greatest criminal, and they both love Gotham. But the course of true love never did run smooth. Interesting. So in addition to the solo titles, the Gotham War will also have one-shots subtitled Battle Lines and Scorched Earth. Red Hood will get involved with his own two-part miniseries. And all of this is spinning out of Night Terrors. I wonder if I can read this without reading Night Terrors. I'm probably going to. What I will say, these are pretty cool covers. That Joe Quesada cover is pretty cool. Jorge Jimenez is just great. Oh, that's fun. So yeah, man. Starts off August 29th with Battle Lines #1. How are you guys feeling about this? Are you excited about Batman and Catwoman on an event? Rotpot asks, what's my favorite Batman story that has been written? I can't say what the best that's been written is. There's been a lot of stories written. My favorite that I've read. Favorite, not best. You said favorite. Okay. So, all right. So it's between I really like Ego by Darwin Cook. I really love that take on Bruce Wayne and Batman's relationship. And then a close second, or maybe it's 1A and 1B, is Justice League Tower of Babel, um, where Batman basically makes plans to dispose of the entire Justice League, and those plans fall into the wrong hands. I like that it shows off the danger of Batman's sort of paranoia and mistrust of his team. So yeah, one of those two. And if you ask me tomorrow, it'd probably be a different story. Long Halloween's up there as well. I just love that as a Batman mystery story. So good question. Good question. Um, so right along the lines of Batman news, McFarlane Toys did announce that they have renewed their license with DC. So we're going to get a lot more DC multiverse action figures from McFarlane Toys in the coming years, which works for me because pretty much, yeah, like 90% of all the action figures I own are DC multiverse action figures because they've got a nice low price point, anywhere from 20 to 25 bucks, unless you buy like a multi-pack, then they can be like 40, 45, whatever. But we're getting a Batwing action figure, so that's cool. A Nightfall inspired Batman, and then Two-Face as Batman. All of these being 7-inch figures. And pre-orders are available right now. So just looking at the Nightfall joint. Oh, it's not available yet. Good job, guys. All right, so the Two Faces Batman's got a retail price of $19.99, it looks like. And what about the Batwing? They didn't put a link to the Batwing. Oh yeah, they did. Batwing's got a retail price of $19.99 as well. Looks like they're coming out in July. So cool stuff there. And yeah, so the NBA finals start tonight. Can't even lie. The way I'm feeling, I'm probably not watching game one of the finals. I'm officially rooting for Miami in the finals. Um, I don't particularly care who wins the finals, but it'd be cool to see Jimmy Butler finally get a ring. Feels far-fetched, but I also like that because they're the underdog. And I was born in Miami, so I might as well root for the Heat, right? Who's the bozo? Am I the bozo? How's it going? Kev's trying not to add to his pull list. I get that. I get that. I've been trying to cut things down as well. Haven't really done much cutting, but I'm so far been doing a decent job of not adding things. So Rot Pot really likes Three Jokers because he's a fan of Jeff Johns. Besides that, it's Batman Hush. Okay, that's what I really like. Batman Hush. Batman Hush made it to my 5 comic challenge video that I did last week. And yeah, Hush was the first trade paperback that I bought, and one of the first Batman stories I read outside of like just whatever single issues were coming out at the time. Speaking of the time, Rob I was wondering when I started becoming a comics fan. I bought my first comics free comic book day 2019. That was so 2019 summer fall 2019 when House of X was coming out. That's when I started my pull list for the first time. And then Carl said, I know you haven't been rocking with the theater, but you got to go see Miles. I would like to go see Miles. I've heard Across the Spider-Verse is just amazing, which when I heard it was coming out, I was like, they could have left it alone. I really like the first one. They're going to mess it up. And apparently, so far, that is not the case. Like, Across the Spider-Verse has been getting rave reviews. It's tough for me to get to a theater just because I got little ones, like a little one. And so, yeah, for us to arrange babysitting to get to the movies is a whole ordeal. But we might have to try to do it. And let's see. Speaking of, Tayshawn says, just got back from Across the Spider-Verse. 5 stars, no notes. That's what's up. That's what's up. Kevin's favorite Batman story is probably Court of Owls and then Hush. You know what? I just recently finished reading Black Mirror. I like that a lot too, but I wouldn't call that my favorite Batman story because one, Bruce Wayne's not in it, and two, what I like about it is more a Jim Gordon story than anything else. So yeah, I probably wouldn't put it on my top Batman stories list. I don't know, top Batman related stories list. It's clearly a Batman book, but I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, Court of Owls was another one of the first trades that I read, and I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot. I really liked the fact that it felt like the Court of Owls had been a thing all our lives, but it was just under our nose. We never knew. That was really cool. So Scott Snyder is like really great as far as because I mean that Black Mirror came from his Detective Comics run that gets him bumped up to the main Batman title, and his first storyline in that title is Court of Owls. Like, dude was batting 1,000 for a minute. So yeah. Carl says Nike ruined the Spider-Man Jordan 1s, not going all leather. You think so? I like the Across the Spider-Verse Jordan 1s. I've got a replica pair coming in soon. I don't know. I don't think they've shipped yet. But yeah, I grab reps because I can get them easily, and I like to be able to just talk about shoes. So I do that on a whole different channel. But um, I like the look of the Across the Spider Verse ones, at least from what I've seen on screens. I haven't had them in hand, and mostly for that whole like, I feel like it applies the theme of the multiverse really well. Like there's that scene in the first Spider Verse, which I haven't seen in a minute, but they're like in that machine and they're like all but like going back and forth between like multiple universes or whatever, and that shoe looks like it's just caught dead in the middle. So you got different panels from different universes basically, and I really like that interpretation of the theme, whereas the first pair, which hold on, so these are also a fake and a bad fake at that, but the first pair just being the regular Chicago one with the Ben-Day dots, which I get it because it was applying the whole look that you got on the show or on the movie. But yeah, I feel like I guess this pair is more of a sneakerhead shoe. Like you'd probably wear this even if you're not a big Spider-Man fan. But I think the new ones applied the theme really, really well. Did either shoe do enough to make me want to pay $500 on resale markets? No, no, not at all. Um, Did you see the new Burger King thing they have for the promotion? Yeah, the red burger. Yeah, the last time Burger King did like a colored bun, it had some weird side effects, and so I didn't try it. Rotpot says started getting into comics last year, and all I have to say is the comic community is so wonderful and nice. That's what's up, man. I am glad that the community has been awesome to you. That's always great to hear. There was one more news story that kind of didn't even really want to get into, but it's fairly important, I guess. Comics Union files against Image Comics. Files what against Image Comics over groundless discipline. So members of the Comic Book Workers United have filed unfair labor practice charges against their employer, Image Comics. Now, I remember this union starting last year, and so I guess they've got enough information now to file claims. Oh, they organized in 2021. It's been that long. They ratified their contract in early March 2023. So they like went to work immediately then because it's 3 months later they've already got these charges set up. Interesting. Created a rule barring solicitation of other employees or dissemination of literature during work hours. Yeah, so I, because I don't really get into a ton of comic book like gossip type stuff, I don't really have much commentary on that. It's relevant in that, Image is like the third biggest publisher of comic books in the world right now. So it's relevant in that way, but I don't even know like who works at Image, like who is an Image employee versus a subcontractor that could even make these claims. Not to say that they're not important, but that's just anyway. Anyway, let's see. Carl regrets not getting that first pair of Spider Verse ones, but I was 16 and not ready for the life savings to go out on a shoot. Yeah, yeah. I was not into sneakers at the time when those came out, or I should say, I was like just getting out. So I was a sneakerhead all through high school. In college, I was broke, so it doesn't really count, right? When I got married, and all of a sudden our household income doubled because we put it together, I started buying more sneakers. Went kind of crazy in 2014, 2015, and was like, all right, let me chill. And from 2015 on, it's just been like, I might buy a pair like once a year, special occasions, stuff like that. But I wasn't into comics yet. I didn't know the Spider-Man Jordan ones were really a thing like that. Found out about them, and they might have been like going for like $300 at the time when I found out about them. And I was like, that's too much for a pair of shoes. Now I'm like, dang, I probably should have paid 300 because I really want a pair of those original ones. But do I want it bad enough to like sacrifice like my kid's college fund or something crazy? Like, nah, might have to rep them. Listen, I work from home. The two places I go on a regular basis, the comic shop, the grocery store. No one at either of those places is going to know the difference between a replica and a real Jordan 1. And if they are, more power to them. But yeah, might have to rep them. So yeah, those were the few items in the news. And from there, let's talk about the review of the week. Now, I have not read or picked up my comics yet from the shop this week. I'm doing that tomorrow. But I did go ahead and grab one comic digitally just so I could talk about it with you guys, and that is Icon versus Hardware, issue number 3. Now, I'm gonna try my best to talk about this book without spoiling it because that's the rule for these live stream reviews. And the reason I wanted to talk about this, because normally I wouldn't even talk about a book this deep into the series, but I've been pretty public with saying issue 3 was probably going to make or break the series for me. And it's interesting because it kind of did both. So they've officially like broken my expectations of what this mini series was supposed to be, and they've made me intrigued and like, all right, I got to see where it goes from here. Is how I feel about this book. So Icon versus Hardware, when you hear that title, you assume there's going to be like a clashing of the titans, so to speak. Like you immediately think Batman versus Superman, and you're like, okay, maybe there's a misunderstanding, but they're going to fight, and then they'll come to an understanding after they fight. And so each issue I've been waiting, like, all right, who's going to cross the line and when are they going to fight? And through 3 issues, that really hasn't quite happened. But in issue 3 of Icon vs. Hardware, for one, in issue 2, we got an appearance from a DC character that I just didn't expect to see, which maybe I should have expected it because this does have the title Worlds Collide up there. And it says that this event is Act 1 of a Worlds Collide crossover event. But basically there was a DC character that showed up and I was like, okay, how is that gonna go? And they pick up on that here. And they end with an appearance from another DC character and other references to the DC universe that I'm like, okay, where are we going? But in the middle of those two things, as you know from my earlier reviews of this series, basically Hardware notices that every time he sees Icon and Rocket on any kind of US surveillance stuff, their faces are blurred out. So he's like, hey, whatever technology they're using to obscure their identities, maybe I can use that to obscure my own, or maybe they've got the technology to just help me in other ways, right? And so he goes looking for Icon's spaceship, doesn't find Icon's spaceship. Instead, he finds Benjamin Banneker's time machine. And he uses this time machine immediately for all kinds of self-serving things. So in the first issue, he's like going back trying to make amends with his dad, who he was estranged from. Um, I don't even remember what he did in issue 2, but something. And then in issue 3, there are other ways that he tries to make amends for just different things. And so I'm trying, how do I light spoilers for Icon versus Hardware 3? Because there's no way for me to do this without spoiling it. So Hardware basically goes back in time and reverses the course of slavery. And then, we follow that natural course of history all the way to present day, with Hardware having altered the timeline. And in this same timeline, everything that was supposed to happen to Icon still happens to Icon. So Icon crash lands on Earth, grows up or whatever, and comes face to face with Hardware. And it's like, oh, yeah, I've been expecting you, blah, blah, blah. He's showing him this like utopia that he made, but it's not really a utopia because white people are serving black people. It's just a reversal of race roles. And so it's like, if you're trying to build a utopia, you can't enslave anyone. Like you can't look down on anyone. And so there's a great moment between Icon and Hardware where Icon is explaining that to Curtis. And, you know, it seems Curtis has learned a lesson. He's going to reset the timeline and go off and make things back the way they were. Who knows if he's going to be successful? We'll find that out in issue 4. There's plenty of other stuff that happens in issue 3, but that's kind of, well, yeah. So all that happens. Yes, Hardware pulled a Black Cotton. And so, yeah, that happens. And this issue, the way I felt about it, I was just kind of like, this isn't necessarily what I signed up for, but the execution on how Icon and Hardware kind of come to like this meeting of the minds, I was like, all right, that's really well done. So if I just shake off the fact that they called this Icon versus Hardware, maybe if they called it Icon and Hardware, I wouldn't have expected some ridiculous clash, and that I really wouldn't have an issue with the title. Um, the only other thing that I'll say is like I feel like they're losing, or they have lost, the subplot with Rocket at this prep school. Like I feel like it was an afterthought to begin with, and it just feels like more of an afterthought. And now Rocket's not even at the school, so what was the point of introducing those conflicts at the beginning of the book? I don't know. Maybe they'll pay off later, but it just doesn't seem like a thread that we're actively following right now. So all that plus all the potential DC universe crossover that's being teased, it's like, okay, one area is really strong emotionally. I like Icon and Hardware and where they're going. One area feels kind of lost. Like, okay, I wanted to root for Rocket this whole time, but she's not really doing anything. And then you got the DC universe stuff being teed up, and it's like, all right, that's interesting. And it's going to depend on the execution as to whether or not this kind of falls flat completely. Because, in my opinion, the Dakota universe does not need to cross over with the DC universe this early in the game. But I'm just a fan. What do I know? Right. So they might pull it off and it might be really good. And depending on, what Act 2 and 3 of Worlds Collide looks like, maybe this is just me being overly cautious, overly skeptical too early in the process. And maybe this is just me being an apologist for Milestone, right? Maybe that line of thinking is just that. But my gut tells me this shouldn't be happening right now. Like, let us live with these characters. Like they just got established. Like, but hey, what I will say is the way they're executing the DC crossover stuff seems really cool. Um, but I can't really talk more about that without like just fully spoiling the issue and ruin it for people. So I'm not going to. Maybe I'll do a separate review. If enough people want that, let me know. We might make that happen. Or maybe I'll do it on the Discord or somewhere where people that want it can read it and people that don't can ignore it. But that was the review of the week, Icon vs. Hardware issue 3. I give it a solid 7 out of 10. Um, yeah, that's how I felt about it. And other than that, that's really all I've got for like our normal segments. Now, what we came here for was my review of Superman. So, excuse me. So I watched Superman, the 1978 film, for the first time this afternoon. And just so we have a clean break from the last segment, we're talking about Superman, the movie, because I watched it for the first time today. And it reminded me very much of my experience with, say, Star Wars, um, Episode 4, A New Hope. Right? I did not grow up a Star Wars fan, and I didn't get into Star Wars until 2015 when the new trilogy started. Basically, I married into a Star Wars loving family, and when the new movie came out, they bought the whole family tickets. Like, right, we're all gonna go on this day. We're gonna see the new Star Wars, and I was like, all right, cool. And I was like, well, I'm not about to be the only one that didn't or doesn't know what's going on in these movies. So I forced myself to watch the entire original trilogy of Star Wars. Then I watched the prequel trilogy, and then I went to the movies to see The Force Awakens. And I had previously tried getting into Star Wars or watching the first Star Wars movie no less than 7 times. And I always just found it boring and cut it off like midway through. Like never made it to Luke in the X-wing trying to beat up or kill the Death Star or whatever, right? I never made it that far into that movie. I always dropped off somewhere around the point where the Empire came and killed Luke's aunt and uncle. And so there it was. There it was. I just didn't get into Star Wars until I forced myself to watch it. And when I did, I didn't get Star Wars. I wasn't like a fan of Star Wars until like midway through The Empire Strikes Back. It was Yoda talking to Luke that made me a fan of the Star Wars franchise. And I kind of saw parallels between like, you know, the Jedi versus the Sith and like my personal faith. And I was like, okay, this is a stand-in for that. Got it. Now I can move on with this parallel. But up until then, I was like, oh, I don't care. I don't know what these people are talking about. You walk into the little bar to meet Han Solo. Who are these aliens? What are these species? What planet is this? It was just so much other stuff going on that I wasn't concerned with the main plot. But this isn't a review of Star Wars. This is a review of Superman, the movie from 1978. And I've tried watching Superman several times when it first came out on HBO Max. I even bought the DVDs. I bought the DVDs off some dude at a yard sale. I have like all 4 Superman movies on DVD. And I'm like, I'm not gonna watch them out of order. So when I tried watching them, and we're on Krypton, or excuse me, Krypton, for the first 30 minutes of the movie, I did not care about those 3M spacesuits. I didn't care about Marlon Brando's voiceover. I didn't care. Why was Clark fully naked? Like, why is that a thing? Why is there like a naked child in this movie? and it was just very boring. Like Clark running beside the train, all that to me was just a snooze fest. And I didn't necessarily feel any different about it today. The difference is I forced myself to keep watching as opposed to just turning something else on. And I'm glad I did because 45 minutes in, yes, 45 full minutes into the film, Christopher Reeve probably or finally pops up on screen and makes the movie. Like just he makes the movie. So once we finally get to Metropolis and we see inside the Daily Planet, we meet Perry White and Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane. All of a sudden, it's a great movie. It was a complete snooze fest for the first 45 minutes. And then after that, it was a great, charming Superman movie. And I totally understand why people say Christopher Reeve is the best Superman. Because Christopher Reeve's portrayal of Clark and Superman, um, it was just awesome. Like that whole scene where he's like in Lois's apartment and he's like all shrunken down being Clark, and then he like takes his glasses off and he's like, "Oh, I'm Superman." Right? Like all that. And then there's just the movie had such like Silver Age vibes to it between like Lex Luthor's whole plan to oh my bad. Spoilers for this 45-year-old Superman movie. But Lex Luthor's whole plan to like blow off the west coast of California so that the property he owns becomes the new west coast and he gets real estate rich. That was like a Silver Age plot if I'd ever seen one. And that was fun. Uh Perry White has a line. He's like, what did he say? He's like, if you get this guy's name referring to Superman, he's like, well, you'll have the most important interview since God talked to Moses. And I'm like, that's a great line. Um, when did Sean Connery play Superman? That was a Sean Connery voice. I'm not good at these voices, especially not with a cold. Oh snap! Speaking of a cold, give me a second. My bad, guys. Didn't even realize my nose was a little crazy. But anyway, yeah, no. When he's like, Lois, I have something to tell you. Like, that was great. The Perry White, Perry White was just great. Like Perry White, J. Jonah Jameson, same person to me in many ways, but he was great. And then what else did I really like about the movie? I could have done without the numbskull next to Lex Luthor, but it was cool. Um, I think what I liked about it was just how charming everything was. Like Superman being like the super charming hero and the little one-liners he dropped after like saving anyone, right? Like we've seen Superman saving a bus full of kids seemingly in like every Superman movie, but I love how he like puts the bus down. It's like, "All right, settle down, children." And then like moves on, or like the one dude that's like falling from a dam and he picks him up. He's like, I've got you. Like, it's just all these like Max Fleischer radio show Superman lines. And it's just like, how can you not like this? And I think I finally understood it, especially like trying to put it into context as this is like the first Superman movie. This is people's first time seeing any of this on screen. And I thought he did a good job. Like Christopher Reeve, his whole cheeky portrayal of Clark Kent, like him being a doofus, like on purpose. It reminded me a lot of Superman Birthright by Mark Waid. Um, yeah, I just thought it was a very wholesome Superman movie, but I could have done without the first 45 minutes. Not even gonna lie. Um, I started, I pressed play on Superman 2, and I stopped it after like 20 minutes because I was like, I don't have enough headspace to like hold on to my review of the first movie and then watch the second movie. It's gonna color it. So I stopped it. But already a far stronger beginning than Superman 1, in my opinion. Because honestly, and maybe this is because I just have this much, comic history in my head at this point, or there's been so many other adaptations of the Superman story. I'm like, I did not need to go from Krypton. I did not need to go from Krypton to Smallville to Metropolis. We could have opened that movie into we could open it in Metropolis, in my opinion. But hey, pretty good movie. I'd probably give it a 7 because that first act was such a snooze fest. And everything after it was great. Otisburg. Right, right. Oh, I'm terrible at space. I tell you guys that all the time. If you want to lose me, let's go to a galaxy far away. That's where you'll lose me. My bad, guys. My nose is like a runaway train right now. But yeah, no, I I suck at space, different species, like all of it, all of it. That's why I never got into Marvel Cosmic and all that. I don't think Superman throws a single punch in the first movie. I think you're right. It's all like saving people from like, but not necessarily confronting a villain. Like at one point, he just like carries Lex to jail, but there's not like a fight. Oh, and Superman like repairing a fault line is like the most Silver Age thing I've seen in a comic book movie. Like just traveling to the center of the earth, no big deal. Let's repair the fault line, and there we go. And then the man, out of pure anger, flies counterclockwise around the earth to reverse the direction of the earth's spinning, to push time backwards, to time travel in the story just to save Lois Lane. I was like, you know what? I'm here for it. That's great. Because I just knew when he saw Lois uh unalived and he started screaming and he flew off, I thought he was flying straight for Lex Luthor. And no, no, that's not what he was doing at all. So, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed myself after I got through the first 45 minutes of that movie. But yeah, there was a lot that I liked about it. Um, I think the one thing that that was in the movie that I was like, really, is that what we're doing? Is when Lois asks Superman what color underwear she's wearing, and I fully expected him to say, "Oh, I would never do that, Miss Lane." But no, he like answers her. It's like, what? Okay, that's what we're doing. But yeah, it was cool. It was cool. Spoiler alert, I liked the Superman movie. I'm old school, and I remember seeing it for the first time when I was 7 or 8. My mind was blown. Yeah, I get that. I get that. Seeing him fly, to me, it looks stiff, but like, when else have you seen a superhero fly on TV at that point? Right? Um, Lance says does a good job of establishing the mythology of the comic books to the big screen. Yeah. I'm trying to like remind myself that someone watching Superman 1978 who had not read a comic absolutely needs the first 45 minutes of that movie. Do they need it to take 45 minutes? Maybe not. Maybe not. But they do need all that lore established. So, I get that. But my problem with the first 45 minutes of that movie is the same as my problem with the 3-part series premiere of Superman the Animated Series. It's the same thing. Like, the fact that they take that long establishing Superman makes me not want to watch the rest of Superman. But that's next on my list. I'm gonna watch the Superman animated series. Um, I'm at a point in life where I'm just enjoying like trying out things that other people enjoy that I don't necessarily appreciate in the moment. Right. So after after I get off vacation in a couple weeks, I'm jumping back into Green Lantern by Jeff Johns. I'm reading the greatest Hal Jordan stories ever told. And I'll either like Hal Jordan when I'm done or be like, it wasn't for me. Um, but either way, I'll enjoy reading comic books. The art in the Jeff Johns Green Lantern is great throughout. I thumb through it. So, um, but yeah, that's what I've been up to. That's what I've been up to. Sheesh, man. 1 second. All right, guys. Clearly, I'm sicker than I thought I was. Lance DeLeon says, I think Marlon Brando was the only big name attached to the movie at the time, so they needed to use him because he cost a lot. In hindsight, they didn't need him. Yeah, I don't think they needed him. Like, was he the selling point for the movie? Maybe he was. I don't know. I heard he cost a lot though. It was like 50 million or something crazy. Oh wait, no. He sued them for 50 million later, but it was like 19 million according to the Wikipedia page. Either way, it's a lot of money. Tom Mankiewicz rewrote the entire movie, but the Writers Guild refused to give him credit. So Donner gave him a special credit above the credited writers, which caused them to flip out. Interesting. Interesting. So yeah, man. I mean, that was that. I read the Superman, or I watched the Superman film from 1978, and I enjoyed it. And yeah, I wanted to stream tonight because uh Thursday the 15th I'll be in Charlotte for Heroes Con, so there won't be a stream that night. And then the following Thursday, the 22nd, I'll be on vacation. So if I didn't stream tonight, there would only be one stream for the entire month of June. But I'm not in condition to be streaming. So I appreciate you all who stuck this out with me for these 45 minutes. I hope these 45 minutes were more entertaining than the first 45 minutes of Superman 1978. That's what I hope is the case for you guys. I appreciate you being here and watching me talk about Superman. I hope you guys enjoy Superman from 1978. If you've never seen it before, it's on HBO Max, which is now just Max. So you can watch it. And who knows? Maybe you'll like it as much as I did. But all that said, I'm going to go drink some water and then I'm going to go to sleep. But I appreciate you all. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace.